What's up, everybody? This is Jimmy with Trading Decoded. It is June 17th, 2024, 4:07 in the afternoon. And holy smokes, what a day. This morning started off, well, trashy. Market was disjointed from itself, especially the things that I like to look for to take my trades. But then it turned into a treasure chest of trades to the upside. Calls were not a thing for me until Qs stopped trending down. And the reason we were looking for puts in the beginning was because Qs were trending down. Even though ADD kind of wasn't. ADD opened up very, very red today, but spent the majority of the day trending up. And for those of you who don't watch ADD, when it's in the extremes, those are the best times to watch it. And I'll explain to you when I'll show you on the chart. But let's go ahead and open up the chart and see what we had charted out and what we had levels for. Pre-market range, we were stuck between 524.04 and 542.74, with yesterday's high being just outside of that range, or Friday's high being outside that range, and Friday's low was well below where we were. Yeah, I didn't know what to expect for today. But what we were seeing at open, and we had a call put scenario. So for puts, we wanted to see a candle close below 541.75. And, we never got that. And when we did, Qs were sitting on a support level. So people often want to know, Jimmy, how come you didn't get into puts here? How come we didn't get into calls here? And yada, yada, yada. When we close below this line here, okay? I understand that. The problem is that if I don't care what SPY is doing, if Qs are at a level, if you're trying to buy puts and Qs are near or at a support level, it's going to be best for you to wait for that support level to at least be breached, okay? And depending on how strong that support level is, you might want to even wait for a candle close before you jump into puts on SPY. All right, now if you look at the Qs today, the Qs started out hitting resistance of their pre-market midline in trending down, lower high, down, lower high, higher low, okay? We had a trend line here. Now, once this trend line is broken, you have to reevaluate. Are puts still the play? And if they are you going to be buying them at the right time, i.e. at resistances that have been proven to be resistances if you so choose to take trades while Qs are at resistance? Okay, so up until 9:57, we were trying to play puts to the downside. Even though Qs was moving down, SPY wasn't really. And that was what was weird, at least for me. A lot of people were struggling today with trying to get a good read on the chart. And truthfully, a lot of that comes from just a lack of patience. Now, obviously, we didn't know we were going to get an $8 range today or whatever it ended up being, some ridiculous number. So are you being patient knowing we were getting a move like that? Well, of course not. But what we need to do, and I'm guilty of this myself, is not being patient at all. I do like to make my money as early as possible in the day so that I don't have to take any more trades on the day. That's why I trade early. And on top of that, there's no levels of support and resistance that have been developed yet on the day until we make them, right? So we realized, hey, this is a line of support. Now, this is where we were waiting for a close below so we can get into puts, hoping to get down to our first target low. It never happened. And when it did, Qs at 949 were coming down to support. So we were waiting for Qs to clear this line. If you got out here because it was support on SPY or was coming up to a tight area of support resistance on Qs, that's what we're hoping for. Now, if you stayed in the trade because the Qs closed below that support, that's also fine. You just need to know when you're going to get out. And I would always suggest, if you're trading the Qs lines, if the Qs don't continue down to their next line of support and they close above the one you stayed in because of, you better get out of that trade at 9:51, which would have gotten out of this trade, yes, for a loss on SPY, no doubt. But you gotta be careful there. You gotta keep your eyes on the Qs. So these two trades came as a result of Qs being at resistance and trending down, SPY being near resistance, hopefully to follow the Qs. Okay. So this one, we didn't get out here. Thought, hopefully it goes down to our put line again. Pulled back. We stayed below our resistance line. And when we got back down to that line, it was recommended to take profits there this time because we were realizing that SPY wasn't doing what the Qs were doing today. Period. End of story. And then we had to wait. We just had to wait. Now, as we move up here, I'm recognizing, hey, we're moving up. I wouldn't buy calls. And I'll tell you what I wouldn't buy calls until. I said, this pre-market line here was very near, although in pre-market early, we put in all-time highs on Qs here. But we got below this blue line, so I was telling everybody, guys, I wouldn't touch calls on this until the Qs get above 480.11. Period. End of story. I wouldn't touch calls or puts for that matter. Qs had already ended their downtrend, started to move up. ADD was already starting to make its way from the bottom towards the upside. And for those of you who want to see what the ADD chart looked like today, I'll show you. ADD opened very, very red today. Okay, opened all the way down here at minus 2,250 and never came back to that level again. Instead, it slowly marched its way up. Yes, still negative, but the beauty of watching ADD or having ADD in an extreme like this, and when I say an extreme, I mean minus 1,500 and lower or plus 1,500 and higher. Think of it like this. When it's minus 2,200, most of the stocks in the stock market are opening at a lower price than what they closed at on Friday. Okay, that means selling off happened in pre-market and after hours between Friday and Monday. Okay. What's good about that is one of two things is going to happen with ADD. Well, there's not much more room for it to go down. Okay. So what we're looking for is, does ADD stay on the floor sideways, meaning that there's nobody in the market buying up, meaning that we opened below what we closed at Friday and we're staying below that. Okay. So you wouldn't be looking for moves to the upside. However, when ADD is at the bottom or on the floor like this, what you're hoping for is not sideways movement, but is the move to start to come off of the floor. And the way I try and teach people to look at that or think about it is like this. When ADD is on the bottom, especially if it's on the bottom for any length of time, assume that the people who have the money, the ones who move the market, are looking at that saying, okay, it's probably pulled back as much as it's going to. It seems pretty safe to go ahead and deploy some capital into the market. Okay? And that's exactly what happened today. They started to put their money in the market. We trended up on ADD. Yes, I know it's still negative at the end of the day, minus 800, but it's a lot less negative than it was. So that means a lot of buying across a lot of stocks had to happen to make that number from minus 2,200 to minus 800. Okay, that is what we use ADD for. Likewise, when we're pinned at the top, plus 2,000, plus 2,200, if it stays up there, you don't even want to consider playing puts up there until ADD starts to roll down. That means profit taking is happening. Okay, then you can start to look for puts. All right, now on SPY. Qs closed above that resistance at 11 o'clock. Never looked back. This was the cleanest trade of the whole day. Obviously, didn't expect it to be this massive. But as we start getting up through moves like this, so this here, for anybody who bought calls here, I was done for the day by then. But man, if I would have just been patient, I doubt I would have caught this whole move because I never hold on to trades that long, but that would have been an absolute ridiculous banger of a trade. But even from here to here was a nice trade. Line to line. I think at 11:06, Qs was running into their next line. Yeah, right here. Now, every line above these blue lines here were lines that I came up with based on mathematical levels, and almost every one of them acted as some form of support and or resistance on the way up. So I'm pretty proud of them. They worked well today, but now we at least have some proven levels of support and resistance that we can use because of today's price action. So naturally, I'm being asked, Jimmy, how do you buy calls in this? And I said, well, first of all, zoom out, turn off all your lines, and recognize that it's a very, very clear uptrend. Number two, one of my rules is all of our top 10 in the beginning was mostly red, and we watched them all turn completely to green. Amazon was the last one to make the turn and ultimately ended up turning green, but top 10 was moving up, ADD was moving up, SPY was moving up, Qs were moving up. We just needed to clear that resistance on the Qs, and it feels like everything just bought up there. I mean, a huge day in the market. All-time highs again on SPY, all-time highs again on the Qs. Pretty wild day. But the answer was, it's not our job to time if and when this move is going to pull back. Okay? It is wise to wait, to not buy the top, okay? Buy a pullback, whether it's to a trend line, a line of support, whatever you want. Or if you're going to play a pattern like a wedge break, we're putting in higher lows, guys. Never buy puts at resistance on higher lows. Why? Because the move is likely to break up, not down. And this is not every time. And I would not have said buy puts here. You don't have to buy calls there, but definitely not puts because we're on an uptrend, a nasty one at that. Okay, so we're putting in higher lows. This is for the aggressive people. If you're trying to get into a call aggressively, do so hopefully at a line of support. This ended up being a support level here, and it was a trend line. Go for it. Go with the trend. Just don't buy it here at the very top. Wait for a pullback to support once, twice, okay? Support, off and up we go. This was one we talked about. Because I'm being asked specifically at this moment, Jimmy, how do you buy calls in this? Wait for a pullback to support. Well, we supported here, we resisted here, support. Go for it. Trust the chart. Watch to see if ADD keeps moving up. See if the Qs start breaking more resistance levels. That paid massively. When would you buy puts? I wouldn't. The market's too strong. But if you're counter trend trading, the one thing I'll tell you, and we talked about it, if you're going to counter trend trade, wait for a pullback, wait for a break of support, and you best consider getting out at the next support down. In an uptrending day, if you're going to play puts, wait for the reason to get in, break support. Look left. Where is the next support down? It's right here on this yellow line, which is exactly where it went to and from, only to be bought up and sent right back up. Okay? We had a trend line here because, well, some people were playing the trend line. Some people wanted to buy puts. They said, I would wait for a close below the trend line at least. So if you waited for that, you could have scalped another move to the downside. We quickly, and there shortly thereafter, ran right back up to near all-time highs, finally selling off in towards the close. Okay, today was a wild day. I don't know what spurred it. I don't know if it's, just shorts having to cover, or if, I don't know. The market is euphoric and it's floating, and there is no gravity in the stock market. So don't try and make sense of it, because as you and I both know personally, we're feeling the pain that seems like a shitty economy, but that is completely separate from the stock market. We had a long conversation about that in our community today, because it's very hard to justify playing calls while we're not personally feeling as wealthy as the stock market seems to be in our day-to-day lives, right? Our groceries are more expensive. Our gas is more expensive. Our insurances are more expensive. Our mortgage and rents are more expensive. We're having to work twice as hard to pay for the things that we had for a lot less money not that long ago. And because we feel that personally, We have a hard time accepting the fact that the stock market just keeps going up. It's a very hard thing to separate from one another, but it's necessary, right? We have to trust the chart. We are not the ones who affect what this chart does. Okay, the stock market does not care about us. And unfortunately, how bad we want or need money plays zero role or factor into what the stock market does. Okay, we are just trying to take the table scraps that are left over from the big guys who are able to move the market, and it's not us. And the sooner you can accept that, the sooner you might be able to say to yourself, no matter how bad I want this, no matter how much I need this, the market doesn't care. It doesn't even know we exist. And when you can accept that, it starts to make it easier to take your profits when we get to lines of support or resistance, right? Those lines are there to tell us what the market is willing to give us. Not what we're hoping to get necessarily, but what it is willing to give us. It's giving us clues as to when we should consider executing our trades, both to the entry and the exit side. That's why these lines are so valuable to me. That's why I have a class in my Discord every week trying to teach people how to draw them. They're not perfect, but damn it, they are accurate enough to be used for entries and exits. As long as you stack the probabilities in your favor, they become wonderful tools. Okay? So, with that said, we're going to wrap it up today. I know this today started rough for a lot of people. It was uncomfortable. Qs were doing one thing. SPY wasn't following suit. ADD was in the red. So naturally, many of us thought the market was going to sell off a little bit. Wasn't the case. It did the exact opposite. But if you stay on your toes, you trade the chart, not what we think, not what we feel, you can be rewarded handsomely. So I hope you did good today. If not, I am sorry. Today wasn't my greatest day either. Personally, I took all three trades. All three were puts. One was very uncomfortable. The second one was kind of FOMO-y. And not great returns, but returns nonetheless. But because I took three trades early, I missed out on everything to the upside. Didn't miss out seeing when I should get into them, but missed out on the opportunity to take them because I don't trade more than 3 times per day. I try and trade as few trades as possible per day. I'd love to keep it at 1 if I could. And most days I do. But with that said, I hope you all did well, and I hope you got some useful information in this video. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. Join our Discord community. Well, we'd love to have you. There's a link down below. We are offering our quarterly discount right now through the end of this month. It makes the price go from $100 a month to $50 a month. So if you're interested in joining and you want to be there for more than a few months, consider looking into that. And other than that, we're going to wrap it up. Thank you guys for watching. Till tomorrow, I love you guys. See ya!